ever trusted someone so much that you didn't even think to doubt them? That's how it all began. She believed in love, in friendship, in those beautiful stories we dream of living. Until she saw with her own eyes the nightmare no one deserves to witness, two familiar faces, a parked car, the motel signs shining like a cruel warning, wake up to reality, and there, in the heart of New York, she had a choice. Cry? Scream? Pretend it didn't happen? No. She did something few would dare. She planned a terrifying surprise. Most people would say she overreacted, that it was better to stay quiet to protect reputations. But she chose to expose because while many endure toxic relationships in silence, she chose to write a new story. Real, brave, and shocking. What you're about to hear isn't just a tale of betrayal in a relationship, it's a lesson in strength, a wake-up call to anyone who thinks they can toy with someone's heart. And the most impressive part, this is only the beginning. Some things you feel before you see, that gut feeling that starts as a tiny discomfort and grows like a storm. She had been suspicious for days, but tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. After all, it was the man she had chosen to love. And her best friend who swore eternal loyalty, but betrayal stories don't send out formal warnings, do they? And that night, on the pavement of New York, the two of them wrote their own ending. She could have walked away in silence. She could have cried alone, like in so many real-life breakup and reunion stories. But no, she flipped the script. And not with drama, with a cold elegance that even movie writers would applaud. Because when pain turns into courage, something powerful is born. The woman who breaks free from toxic relationships and rises. The surprise she had planned sent chills. Most people expect the betrayed to play the victim in a family drama like this, but she chose to surprise. And not just the two of them, the whole world. There was a camera, there was exposure, there was a message. That day, a real-life story was born that convey easily made the headlines or been shared in family WhatsApp groups. But what she did next, no one could have imagined. Some people still think respect is something you ask for, but she learned the hard way that respect is something you demand, even if it's through shock. After witnessing that absurd scene, she went to her car, took a deep breath, and turned on the camera. Most would have frozen, not her. She recorded it all, his embarrassed face, the other woman's lost stare, even the motel license plate. This wasn't revenge, it was justice. Stories of infidelity in marriage often go quietly, but not this one. And with a steady finger, she hit send to all, family, friends, co-workers, and yes, even his mother, the same mother who used to say, my son would never do that to you. Well, he did. And now the world knew. Her action became one of the most talked about emotional family stories. Because really, how far would you go to make sure you're not silenced in a toxic relationship? The reaction was instant. Some were shocked, others applauded, but no one stayed indifferent. Because this wasn't tea, Jessa will be exposed in betrayal. There was a woman saying enough out loud. If you've ever been through something similar, you know how painful it is to swallow the truth every day. That's why actions like hers inspire others. But the most surprising part was still to come. It only took a few hours for the story to explode. The morning news ran headlines like "Wife sends viral video after motel scandal and caught on camera. Revenge in New York." And there she was, in the middle of all the chaos, an ordinary woman with a real story, suddenly turned symbol not of pain, but of action. Sad love stories. The media's full of them, but one with courage and strategy. That's rare. The host tried to make her cry, but she showed up composed, elegant, no drama, and said everything she needed to say with a calm that sent chills through the audience. And the curious part, she never mentioned names. If you watched, you know, she said, a perfect example of how to turn pain into powerful storytelling. She didn't need to cause a scene, just speak the truth. And when the truth is well told, it stirs even those who've never lived through toxic relationships and recovery. Ratings soared. The video went viral, and her She moved on. No shouting, no playing the victim, just a clear message. Boundaries exist. Real family dramas like this make people uncomfortable because they expose what many live but refuse to admit. But this was just the beginning, because after that, a new secret would surface. And this one, no one saw it coming. She didn't expect to run into her, of course. But there she was, in the grocery store checkout line, holding 2 bottles of wine with that same smug look. The woman who used to share family secrets, who once said, "I'm always here for you," now acted like a stranger. And the memory of the video, still fresh, circulating everywhere like an open wound on display. Yet some people act like betrayal is just a harmless stumble. And the craziest part, she smiled. Yes, had the nerve to smile, ask, "How are you?" and chat about olive oil prices. You really wonder how some people sleep at night. These betrayal stories in relationships are sometimes so absurd they feel like a bad play. And the stage that day was a grocery aisle, witnesses plenty. But in that cold corridor, silence screamed louder than any words. There was no fight, no scene, just a firm look and the sentence, "You are no longer welcome in my life." Simple, direct, dignified, because emotional family stories are also born when we choose not to stoop to the level of those who hurt us. And it was in that moment she realized true power isn't in shouting, it's in walking away. But fate, fate had one last act to unfold. Days after the scandal, when things seemed oddly quiet, a letter arrived. No return address, handwritten on yellowed paper with a scent of secrets and time. She almost threw it away, looked like junk mail, but something about that envelope made her hands tremble. And when she opened it, it wasn't just a message, it was a bombshell. Another chapter in the real family drama life insisted on writing. The letter held intimate details only someone very close could have known, things not even the best friend knew. It spoke of past betrayals, lies she'd believed since the start of her relationship. It rocked her world because stories of separation and reunion usually end with goodbye. But this one was proving the rabbit hole went deeper. And the scariest part was only the beginning. She spent days wondering who had sent it, a relative, a neighbor, someone watching in silence who finally had enough. That's the part of real-life stories that haunts us most. We never know who is quietly observing. But this letter, it wasn't just a warning, it was a spark. Because from that moment on, she decided to investigate. And what she uncovered, no one was ready for, that feeling that something's off, but you can't quite name it yet. That's how she started connecting the dots. With the letter in hand and her mind racing, she dug deeper. And what she found shook the ground beneath her. The man who had betrayed her wasn't just a cheater. He had hidden ties with someone from her own family. Family secrets revealed carry a weight no one teaches you how to bear. It was a distant cousin, one of those who only shows up at big family events, but always had a strange look in his eye. The letter mentioned his name, connected events, described meetings she never knew happened, and suddenly everything started making sense. Sad love stories are bitter enough, but when they involve blood, trust, and broken bonds, the pain reaches another level. She didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal in love or within the family. But one thing was clear. This hole was deeper than it seemed. Because when toxic relationships and recovery mix with family roots, the pain comes tangled with a sense of betrayal by your own history. And that was the moment she chose not just to react, but to rebuild. And for that, she'd have to face the biggest dilemma of her life. So tell me honestly, how many times have you stayed silent when you should have stood tall? How many real-life stories have you lived through thinking they only happen in movies? Maybe now is the time to stop making excuses for what has no excuse, because silence might feel safe, but it's never the path to healing. Do you really think it's worth holding on to? A love that breaks you? Or keeping ties with those who smile in front of you while stabbing you in the back? These stories of betrayal and family secrets aren't just entertainment, they're mirrors. They show that healing begins the moment you stop accepting less than you deserve. So tell me, what was the most powerful moment in your story? What would you have done differently? Share in the comments. Your story might be the inspiration someone else needs. And of course, if this moved you in any way, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because every hidden pain deserves to be transformed into a story that empowers